So, hello guys. In this session today, we're gonna do part two of our session of our watching class session, and yeah, I'm doing the fixes for this university, the Meteor University. So, what you're gonna see today is me watching those classes, then doing some fixes, redoing some cuts. Like when I finish the class, when I see something is not up to date, I will do like a correction. I will create a clip that maybe in the future to can be used to update the classes. So that's pretty much what I'm gonna do today. So hope everyone is really well seated, is happy. Come on, people in, letting people in. If you guys want to say anything in chat, you can always say it, and I will try my best to read them. And yeah, if you want to say where you're coming from, where you're hearing this live stream, would be nice. And so that's for the introduction part. I'll also say that who I am because sometimes people go like, yeah, there's a guy that's doing things for Meteor, but I don't know who he is. My name is Gabriel Gruba, and I work as an advocate and also a maintainer for Meteor.js. And you may know me as a person that pings people around in the Meteor repo and sometimes answer people in forums. So yeah, you can always find me. Is as my last name is here somewhere along the box, Grubba. So that's I am. That's if you need me, you can always ping me there. And what I do is I am the advocate here and the maintainer for Meteor as well. So you can always ask me questions in the session, and later on you can ping me on Twitter, Slack, and our forums. And please subscribe to us in this YouTube channel and follow us in Twitch, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I think there is a command if you type it in. I social think should work. I'm trying to make it work. If it doesn't, yeah, just ping us there and sometime. So in any time anyone will give you, yeah, exactly the social medias. So that's pretty much it for the presentation today. I hope you all have a great time. Well, so what we're going to be doing today is continue our sessions, our course in Meteor 101. And if you haven't watched what we saw last week, I'm gonna be giving you a quick, uh, quick resume retrospective what we saw. But what we did was to uh, create an app in Meteor.js using the prototype keyword, and then we add some CSS to it with Tailwind, and yeah, we were learning as well how to deploy to Galaxy. That's our cloud platform. So if you haven't seen it yet, please see it in our YouTube channel. It's a really good content. I'm there talking things on top of it, so you can see what's new, what's wrong, what should be updated. But for the most part, everything is up to date. So yeah, so let's get started. Our first video of the day is gonna be watching those auto publish and insecure packages. For those that don't know, this is a package that that every app when you start flag, that's it, saying Meteor create with prototype. It will give you an app that you can connect and do everything like client insertions, client deletions, and reading through your client. And that's really nice. And that's probably what Fred's gonna tell us today. So let's get started. Uh, One thing before that is if the sound is too loud or too low, please let me know. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay, the last thing that I want to explain you on this lesson yet is about two specific packages. So I mentioned before that when we do this on the contact form, we are just importing the contacts collection and we are inserting this data. But remember, this is the client side. So if we pay attention to this, what we are doing is accessing our database from our client side. This is dangerous. We shouldn't allow that. So why Meteor does that? If we go to the .meteor and take a look at the packages, we will find a package that is called insecure. So we can read the description here that it says allow RDB writes from clients. So, but it's for prototyping. And we can also see another one right here that is saying the same, but let's focus on the insecure right now. So this package is for prototyping. So if you want to do something really quick, a demo or a project where you just want to try something new, this is really cool because it is really easy, right? You access the database directly from the client, but we should remove this from our project. And we could type meteor remove insecure, or we can just remove it from here. So with that, if I save it, we can even take a look at the terminal, detected our change, and remove insecure from our project. So what happens now? Let's go back to the app, and I will try again to take, let me open again that website just to take some random person, and I will try to add another person, another contact right here. So again, tanya.gmail.com. Let me fix this first letter, and I will copy the image address from there and copy it here. So let's see what's going to happen. Save contact. Oh, access denied. Insert failed. So now we are not using the insecure package anymore. We remove it, and now Meteor is not allowing us to access the database from the client. But we can see that the fields were cleaned. This is something that we will improve in the next lesson, because what we have to do is to check if this function runs correctly or not, but this will be in the next lesson. So, okay, our application unfortunately is not working anymore because that package is for prototypings. But there's another thing that is the auto publish, and we saw that in the Meteor packages. So this one, auto publish, it says publish all data to the clients. So if you remember the explanation in the first lesson, we mentioned that Meteor uses mini-Mongo on the client side. So if we go to the contact list component, let me open right here. So how we are fetching the data? In the contact list, we are calling the contacts collection dot find dot fetch. And this is taking the values, is taking the data from the mini-Mongo. But again, is this safe? Because all my data is published to the client. What if I need to check if the user is the owner of this data? What if I need to check if the user have permission to access that data? So this is also good only for prototypings. And we will learn in the next lesson how to do this properly. But for the moment, I will do the same. I will remove the out publish from here. Meteor will detect what I just did and remove the package from our project. And if I go back now to our app, oops, nothing is working anymore. So that's okay. We're gonna fix in the next lesson, but it's very important to understand the reason why we have this. If you are prototyping something, this is really cool. If you're creating a real app, it's better to remove as soon as possible those packages from here. And we're gonna understand in the next lesson what we need to do to make our app work again. So thanks for watching, and
Oops,
I
sorry.
see you in the next lesson.
So yeah. No, it's okay. Yeah, it's so much better. Just let me type it in the marks. So yeah, this haven't changed, and it won't even for Meteor 3. So for those that are watching and there is already Meteor 3, you don't remains the same. Things work as they used to, so it's really nice. Oh, we have an activity. Remove the yes, yes, exactly, and check it must be empty to get, yeah, exactly. So that's perfect. So let's go to meteor methods, and this is where it might get a little bit interesting, and I might do something like show how it how it will work in a different set and a different environment. So yeah, let's watch it and see what changed. So for Meteor 3, right? So let's get started.
Hey, on this lesson, we're going to learn how to use Meteor methods so you can safely send data to our server side. We're going to learn how to load data using publications, and we will understand a bit more about the real-time fundamentals in Meteor. So let's get started. So this is how we finished our last lesson. So our app was not working anymore. We could not insert any contact. We could even try something here just to remember. And I will try to save it and nothing happens. We cannot see the contacts that we have added before. So this happened because we removed two packages. We entered on this file, on the packages file that is inside .meter, and we removed the insecure and auto publish. And that's why it's not working anymore. So we will understand what is going on here. I will actually put back the auto publish package just for a moment. So if I run meter add auto publish, that should add again this file to our project. We can even check right here. Meteor will detect that and reload our application. So, okay, it is added and it is here. So now we can see the contacts. So we will leave like this for the moment because we will understand first the insecure package that is related to how we send data, how we insert the contact, and I won't put back the insecure package. So what is happening is if we open our console in the browser, we will be able to see the error. So I will try again to add a new contact because now we can see the contacts right here. And if I do that, we will get an error. So it's saying that insert failed, access denied. So we don't have access anymore. So how we fix that? Because with the insecure package, we were inserting the contact in the mini Mongo. So if you remember when we saw the lesson what is Meteor, we learned about mini Mongo. What we were doing here on this code was to insert the data in the mini Mongo on the client side, and then that data was propagated to the backend to MongoDB on the server side. So we're not able to do that anymore. Okay, so to fix that, we need to move this function, this functionality to the backend. Only the backend will be able to talk to the database because this is the safe way of building real apps. With the things that we learned, how could we do that? It is really important to understand the structure of our project. So if you remember, we have this server folder with the main.js file, and this is the entry point of our application. So this is on their server, right? And we are importing here this contacts collection on the server side. So if we open this file, we can even open the folder that is the imports API. So what if we create a new file here and we add that functionality to this API folder? So let's do that. I will create a new file called contacts methods because I will put all my methods related to the contacts on this file. So .js, and let me go back to the contact form. So what I need to do is to move this to the server side. So I will first copy this and just comment it out, and then I will move to here. So how should I do that? We need a function, right, on the server side. So maybe I could create a function here called insert, and then I call the contacts collection like we were doing before. So I just pasted here. We could receive this on the parameters, and we could return the result of this function call. Okay, so that maybe makes sense. But how can we import a function that is on the server side? How could we call it on the client side? So there's no way to do that. So what we need to do is to create a Meteor method. So we are going to use a function called Meteor methods. And this function, it receives an object with the methods that we want to add to it. So instead of doing just like this, we would do it like this. Insert, and then I can remove this, and I also can fix this because I just need to pass a key that is the name of the function, the parameters, and this is actually the function itself. So the parameters and the curly brackets. On this way, we are calling this function, we are passing a function to the Meteor methods, and this will be available globally. So we will be able to call it on the client side. So I think our function is actually ready on the server side, and I will go back to the contact form, and now we should be able to call that method. So how we do that? Again, we have a function called meteor call, and it is better to import meteor right here because then we will have the competition from WebStorm. So from meteor dash meteor. Okay. So now once we start typing, we can see that we have this meteor call, and we can see that we have a name and then arguments. So this is how we call it. We pass, which is the name of that function. We name it insert. And actually, I think that's not a good name because we might have a lot of other methods. And just calling it insert, we will have some conflicts, right? Because we might have insert method for payments, for instance. So instead of just insert, I will call it contacts dot insert. And as this is just a key, we can use a string. So this is cool. So now this is the name of the method. And I will go back to the contact form and I will pass it here as a string. And then it is expecting the arguments. What are the arguments? Let's go back there. It is basically the contact object with a name, email, and image URL. So basically the same as we were passing right here. So I will copy and paste it this, and let's test it. I will close this and just check, okay, my app is running. I will open the browser and test this functionality now. So again, I will add myself, Fred, at gmail.com, and just a fake image URL. If I click on save, we got an error, right? Look at this error invoking method contacts insert. And what it's saying is contacts insert not found. So why that happened? We created this method, right? So if you go back there to the contacts methods, it is here, it is defined. So what we need to do is go to the server and main.js file because this is the entry point on the server side. And we need to import that file as well. So it is basically the same path of this. but the name of the file is contacts methods. When I hit save, Meteor will reload my server because I changed something on the server side. And if you go back there, I will clean this error and I will try again to insert a contact. And let's see how it goes. Save. Whoa, seems that it worked. Let me remove myself from here. So yeah, I am there. Just the image is not showing properly because I just put a fake URL, but it is there. It is working. So if we go back to the code and review what we just did, on the contact form, we are not using the collection anymore. So we can actually remove this line, and we can also remove the import from here and save it. So now we are calling a method, and its name is contacts insert. We are passing these arguments, and this method is defined on this file, contacts methods. How we did that? Meteor methods receives an object. We defined a name, the arguments, and then what this method does. And then we also added to the main JS file because Meteor needs to be aware that this file needs to be imported. So that's it. It is working, but not quite properly yet. Why not? Well, let's try something. We have our form and we don't have any kind of validation yet. So what if I try to save with the fields all blank? Hmm, it is adding something, right? Maybe all the fields empty. We could check in our database, but this is what is happening. So how do we fix that? We can validate that on the client side, and this is good because it is quicker than validating on the server side, but we should always validate on the server side. We cannot trust the client side data. So let's go back and open the contacts methods. I will close some other files so we don't get lost. So what I'm going to do here is something simple. I will just check because if I'm adding a contact, I will check if I have at least the name of the contact, right? And if I don't, I want to throw an error. And let's see how I do that. If I don't have any value on the name, so this will return true if the name is empty or undefined or null. So if this is true, I want to throw an error. And we have actually an error from Meteor itself. That is a meteor.error. And we can pass the error and the reason and the details. So I will just pass this message. Name is required. Okay? So if this happens, it will throw an error and it won't get at this line. So it will stop the execution of the method right here. Okay, let's test it. And I think the contact form is okay. So let's go back to the browser and test it. So again, I will leave it blank and try to save. And yeah, I got an error here saying that name is required, but this is on the console, right? I should be able to get this error and present something to the user because how they will know that the name is required. So I could try this a lot of times, but let me clean it up. And what we need to do is to add another parameter to this meteor call. So we can pass a callback function as the last parameter. And on this callback function, we can receive something called error. And we can check if we have an error. So let's do that. If I have an error, I will console log that error. And I want, for example, I want to clean up the fields because right now, let me test it again. If I don't put the name and I just try to put the email and the image URL, then what happens is I get an error and my form is cleaned. So I don't want to do that if I have an error. So if I have it, I will print it out. If I don't, I will clean the form. So let's just save it and test it on this way. I will clean this and let me try again. So I will put my email and try to save it. Okay, now you see we didn't clean the form and we have the error on the console. So we need to present this to the user, right? We could do something like, and before that, let's understand the structure of the error. So we have an object with the error where it is the message that we are showing, the validation message, and we have an error type. We have another property saying that is client safe. But what matters to me right now is this, the error message. So I will actually call this error response because there is a property called error, and I will print the error. So this is just myself trying to understand the error response. I will close this and save it. So again, let's try it, save. Okay, it is showing just what I want. And then we can do whatever we want with this. So I could, for example, show alert to the user. So error response dot error, and instead of printing to the console, the user will be able to see it. So let's test it now. Save. Okay, name is required. It is working. Well, let's see if it's working. Let's put the name thread2, thread2 at, whoops, 2 at gmail.com and thread2.png and save it. Okay, I am here. It looks good. So if I don't fill the name, I can see this message. If I fill it, it is saving. It looks better now, but let's present something prettier because we are using Tailwind, right? And this is just the full alert from Chrome itself. So let's change that.
So yeah, this one's gonna be changed a little bit. So let me try to run the project here just for a moment, and I will let me see if I can find the code here. Is it's somewhere here? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you guys haven't seen it yet, but I'm just like trying to get exactly the activity so that we, yeah, it's 1.3.1. Nice. I think it's this one. Just a second. Let's see. Yeah. Oof. Let's see this one. I think. Yeah, I will try with this one. Let me just download the code for a second because yeah, I think I've removed it from my nice. I'm open up the code. So let's see. It's this one. Let's see. Tailwind. Yeah, let me change my the. I was opening the terminal and everything's now probably set. I'll change my screen. So, so like so review Meteor methods. So let me stop the screen. Let me present it again. Let me share my whole screen for you all. So from what we saw in here, and the sound actually, just a second actually, Meteor update this project. Just a second while it's updating. Yeah, so I'll continue while it's updating, and let me just open the files that must be opened, and I will start doing the here. Let me do a zoom in. I guess one more. Oh, it's too much. I think it looks good. So let me just open this up here. I will open this one as well. What I will do actually, let me think about it. But yeah, what I will do is I know what Fred's gonna do. I will just paste it. Oops, I was to do this. I was to do this and then this, and now I guess everyone can see it, almost everything. I think now it's good. So let me start now. So I'll do a clap just so that I know when when the editors see this video, they know when to start it. Even though I've added it like the exact moment, it's nice to have like a clap or something. So I'll do like this, and now we're starting. So just a second, let me update it here. So hey guys, this is an update for this session, this class from Fred, and what we are doing is updating Meteor to the latest 2.x version. That's at the time of recording 2.15, and this code that I will be writing now is valid as well for Meteor 3 onwards. So everything that you see in this video is actually working and 2.15 and in 3.0 in 3.x and almost 3.0, 3.0.1. So I've updated the project. That's the only thing that I need to do. I'm gonna be running Meteor now, and let me just do like this so that people can see it, the browser as well. Whoops. Oh yeah, I need to download the Meteor, Meteor npm install. Yeah, sorry guys, I forgot to install our dependencies. When I run Meteor, I hope things should run fine now. Here, localhost 3000. Let's wait a bit. And what I will do the same steps that you've seen in the previous session, but now focusing on the 3.0 API. So we have our app running here. You guys can see it. Uh, we can we currently can add anything to it. So we can say Gabriel, Gabe, Gabriel at meteor.com and some PNG. And if I save contact, it will save it here. Just I think I can do a zoom in here. Yeah, I can do zoom in here. So I guess now it's a little bit better. So it works as it was working before, and as you saw in the previous session. But then we have here in our packages, we still have insecure installed. What I will do, I will remove it as Fred did in its class, and when I remove it, it will stop working the the insertion of data on our backend. So if I say something like uh, Gabriel 2 and I have an email, something like Gabriel at meteor.com and some png.png. If I click in save contact, it won't work. It will fail and it will throw an error actually. Oops, let me just remove the zoom in. It will throw an error saying that it failed or it got access denied because I've removed the insecure package. So what we will do is create. We will open. We'll close a few of our tabs. We will open the main.js and you will know why. We will open our contact form. That's where we are saving our data. And we will remove, as Fred did in its episode, this insert and move it to a function. Whoops, let me do like this. I will move it to a function in a file called, oops, new file, contacts methods.js. And in this JS file, I will have the insert function as it has shown inside of a Meteor. Oops, I gotta do like import Meteor from Meteor. I think we should work now. Meteor.methods, and then we will do contacts.insert exactly, and we'll return this. So the main thing is for Meteor 2.8 onwards and Meteor 3.0 is that we cannot use anymore the insert, update, remove methods from collections, and also I need to import the context collection. Yeah, I could import it. So what should I do? Yeah, wait, you can do dot insert, and there is this new method called insert async that actually returns the same thing as insert did, but actually uses promises. And for those that don't know what promises is, they're starting with JavaScript. Promises is a way to deal with async states without using callbacks as Fred did, for example, in the meteor.call. And you'll see it what I mean now when we open the contact form. We can import, as Fred did in here, Meteor from Meteor. And instead of doing something like meteor.call, that's completely fine. Uh, we should do call async, oops, async. And now what this will do, this will return a promise, and I will show what it returns. But first, I will do a check for the name. So if if there is no name, Meteor not authorized. So what you see here is I'll try to do the insertion in this call async, and if it's not that, if it, and we'll try to use it now. Let's see what happens. Let's say Gabriel2 at gmail.com and some.png. So let's save contact. And what it did was throw an error, but it's actually a non-cough promise. So what it means is that I need to not only caught this promise, and I can do like this. I can do like dot cough, I think, dot catch, and then I can have let me just adjust this here. I have the error here, and I can do like console.log error, and then if we try it again, Gabriel2, Gabriel2 at gmail.com, and some.png, it will render the error. That's our error class, and that's exactly the same that we saw before with Fred. So as you can imagine, we'll have to handle it as we would using promises. I know we can do like a .then and a .catch or .finally, but I will use the async keyword here on the top in the save contact, and that let me do this thing here that I feel that's way more nice actually. So what we will do is add an async there, and now what we can do is try and try calling await meteor dot call async, insert contacts like this. And if something happens that's wrong, we do a catch and get the error here. And we can do like Fred did, do an alert error dot message. That's the thing that we get here. We can also do a console dot log the error. So if everything goes fine, it should continue the code here. It should run this code. But if something goes wrong while calling async, it will throw an error here. You got it? So let's try it and let's run it. So what I will try is to just click here and it will say to me that, oops, not found. Well, that happened as well with Fred. And I think the solution, as you might have seen it, is importing the same way he did here methods exactly. So import dot slash import slash API slash contact methods. So let's try it again. Let's just try save contact. Oops. Oh, it's refreshing. Sorry. Just let's wait a second so it can refresh our page. Oops, something went wrong. Yeah, sometimes the my machine does this, but yeah. So, oops, and this is not correct. It's actually not name. It should show an error. And I think now should work. So it's the same as we did before, which we were using insert async. And if we wanted to do something like const result that comes from here, we should be using the async keyword. So I think it's here, and we should be doing a wait here and then returning the result. Return result. And then we can do like console.log from result here. So let's try it again. It's starting. So what will happen is when you click this button, it will call save contact and it will try calling call async to the server. If something goes wrong with this call, it will run the will throw an error and this error will be caught here in this line and it will continue the code. So one other way that we could see this code is something like if we got caught an error, we return, we actually stop running this code. Oops, stop running this code, and then we return it like this. So we try calling the context insert async. If something goes wrong, we alert the user about it, and we don't do anything else. We don't clean up our code. So let's try it again. So if I run here, it should warn me and say not authorized. And if I say something like here and I run this, it won't do nothing. It will say not authorized and will move with its life. Yeah, that's what happens. But if I add something correct here, like Gabriel2, that uses the email Gabriel2 at gmail.com and has some.png, and I click save, it will work fine. And also will say the result for me here. That was the result of this async insertion. So that's what changed. This code will work exactly the same and behave exactly the same when we are in 3.0 or when we are 2.8 onwards. So hope you all liked this lesson. And in the next step, Fred will show how we can style this. How can we style this error message? So yeah, let's get started with the next class. Let me just place it in when it ended. This one is for file or something, and we'll have the next session, the next thing that Fred teaches us. Wait, yeah, the next one is gonna be we have an activity exactly. So we'll have this one. I will watch it with you guys. And if something goes wrong, or actually if something is not updated anymore, I will update it with you guys later. So I hope you see you all soon. Bye bye. Let's get go back to watching our classes. Let me change the screen here. Let's stop his. Let me share the screen again and tab this one. So let's see it. Let me open it, make it bigger. Oops. Just a second. Yes, now it's better. So let's. What the name of this question is Meteor Methods Part 2 UI. So it starts now at 46, 47 actually. And let's go. So if the audio is too low, let me know and I can try to fix it.
Remember that we are using Tailwind and we are using Tailwind UI with some ready to use components. And I know that they have one called alert, and this is what I want to use. So you can see the preview of the components, and I want to use this one that is an error alert, and I will get this code and copy. I will go back to my code and I will create this component. So I could put it here in the contact form, but I will probably reuse this somewhere else. So I will create a folder, a directory called components, and I will create here a component called maybe error alert.jsx. So then I will be able to reuse this later. I will paste the code that we just copied. And we can see already that there is an error here. WebStore it's not recognizing this package, and it is suggesting that I should install it. So instead of using in that way, because it is recommended to use Meteor npm, I will run it this way. Meteor npm install, and then that package. And this is just a package with some nice icons to us to use. Okay, so this is not the way we are doing our components, so I will change it to keep consistent. So export, and then the name of the component will be error alert. And we need to receive a message, right? So I will define this argument, and this will be an error function. So let me see. Yeah, now it is correct. And I will remove the texts that they have here on this example, and I will leave just this one. So instead of showing this, I will show the message. Okay, our component looks okay. I think our package, yeah, it is already installed. I will run Meteor again. And going to the contact form, we need to show that error alert when we have an error. So to do that, we need to control the state of the error. And I will create another variable here, and I will call it error. message maybe, or just error, and set error. And this will use the React use state, and it will be a message, so it will also be empty. Okay, and then right here, if I have an error response, I will set that error to this error response dot error. Okay, so far so good. And now I need to present that error alert if I have this error. I will go to this form and I will import that error alert here. It needs a message parameter, and this is our error. Okay, as always, I like to do a little code and then check if it's everything okay. Oh, you see, I forgot to import React, so I will pop it from here and add in my component. Okay, it looks good. You can see that it is showing the error alert, even though we don't have any error. And this is why we didn't add any condition here. So I will add this. If we have an error, I will present this component. I will render this component. So let's see now. Okay, it looks good. Let's try just, I will hit save. Hmm, we can see the error message. So it is fine. I also want to show a success message when everything goes right. So I will create another property here, and this one will be called success, and then we will have the set success, and it will be empty. And what I want to do is, if I have an error, I will set it this way. If not, I will set the success message. That will be just contact saved. Okay, but right now we just have a error alert. So I will go back to the tailwind and I will take this one. That is no, this one. It is simpler. So I will take this code and create a new component. Again, in the same folder, the components folder, and it will be called success alert. I will import React right now so I don't forget from React and then paste the code. I know that there is this X to close the alert, but I won't implement that right now. So I will just remove this and I will remove this and also the comment from tailwind. I will use our default way to declare a component, export const. This one is the success alert. It receives an error function, okay, and also a message. And instead of showing this one, I will show my message. And I will do the same here. So the same logic. If I have a success message, then I will present that success alert with the message being the success. Okay, it looks good. So let's test it. I will open the browser, go back to our application, uh, and I will put the thread tree. But it is becoming boring, right? All these thread names. So I will use that random user.me and we can get from here some names and pictures and our application will look better. So first I copied the image real well, then the name and also the email. If you go here, we can get the email. Of course, it's not a real email, but it is good enough for us. When I hit save, cool. So we can see this message. and it looks very good. So this is the contact that I just added. And this is something we could improve, right? Because we just added this contact, but it is being added to the end of the list. So we can do something here that is to sort those contacts. So just a quick pause on the contact form, and we are going to the contact list because I will remove this tracker comment, and on the find, we can pass another argument here, and we can pass another option that is sort. I want to sort this by created at date. So every time that we add a contact, it will show the recent one first. But remember that we don't have this property. So what I'm going to do is go to the contacts method, and I will add another property here called created at, and this will be an instance of the current date. Okay, so now when we add a contact, we are going to add this created at, and in our contact list, we will be able to sort by this property. Let's test it. And all of those contacts, they don't have any. So I will just take another random user. We can click on here, new, and let's add Nicole. Uh, right here, take his picture, image address, and then the email. Oops, yeah. So the email. Okay, so if I add it, yeah, it is the last one in our list. So now we will be fine. Another thing I want to do is this. If I click on save it right now, look at this. We have still the last message, contact save, and we have a new one, name is required. So what I want to do is just to remove this message after, I don't know, a few seconds. And I will do that very quickly in a very simple way. So let's go to the contact form, and what you can do is just use a timeout. So let's do this. We are setting the error if we have any, but I will call the set timeout function. This is from JavaScript itself. We can pass a function to it. And what we are going to do is we are going to set the error, but then after maybe 3 seconds, this is in milliseconds, so 3000, I will set this error to empty again. So with that, it will present the error, but after 3 seconds, it will clean it up. And I will do the same for the success message. So set timeout, but on this case, it is set success empty after 3 seconds. Save it. Let's test it. I will refresh just to remove those components from the screen. And I will try the same thing. So let's get a new person, image address, and Mary. I will just type it, her first name. So I will copy the email only, copy it, paste it, and save. Okay, contact saved. It is the last one in our list. Oh, it's gone already. Did you see it? Let's let's put maybe 5 seconds. Maybe it was too quick. And for here as well. But it has gone. It is working. I will just test it also for the name, for the error message. So, okay, it is showing. Let's wait. Well, now it is 5 seconds. Yeah, it's gone. So, okay, I think it's better this way, but this is just UI. It's not related to Meteor itself. So our application is looking good. I just want to organize a little bit this uh, set error and set timeout error, because this function is becoming big and I like to have small functions. So I'll just create one called show error. I will receive a message as a parameter, actually an object with a message, and then I will put this code here. This will be the message. Just to clean this code a little bit, I will call it here, show error. Then I pass the message and the error response dot error. And now I can remove this code. So if I have another case which I have to show an error, then I can just reuse this function and it will work in the same way. It will show the error and then set the timeout and make the error disappear in 5 seconds. And the same for the success message. So this one will be success. I am copying and pasting a lot of code, but I think we can go quicker this way. So set success message and set success empty value. And now we can replace all of this, show success. We have to pass an object. And on this case will be contact saved. So let's do this. And now I can remove also this. Okay, let's just test it. Just using the error message. Okay, it is showing. Let's see if it will disappear. Yeah, okay, it is working. So yeah, let's have a quick look at our contact form. So we have a few states for our form. And remember that this is just React. So if you want to use other libraries to help you, like Formic, it's one that I liked a lot. You can use it. So feel free to use any form library that you want. And we have here the show error function. We have the success. We have the save contact. And here we are calling the Meteor method that is defined in our backend.
So guys, let me. I was typing the mark so that we don't lose track of it. And yeah, about the section, I don't think we had any change. Like, if somebody's calling me, just a second. If if you get like if you watch the previous section that I did about like reviewing the meter methods, I think it will be fine for this one because what he does is he shows for a second what it then insert in the backend. But if it's exactly what I showed, it won't be an issue. Yeah, this was mostly a UI part, so I guess this is still valid. Everything that you saw is still valid, and yeah, Tailwind is nice. We should always use, not always use Tailwind, but Tailwind should be like if you can use Tailwind, use it because it's really nice. Like Fred, just like we use Tailwind UI, but there are other like libraries that have integration of Tailwind, like Daisy UI and so on. So yeah, it's a really nice library to create beautiful interfaces, and yeah, really like this lesson. This one was a good one. So let's see what we have for activities. Yeah, we should have our hero icons. Exactly. We should not forget to do this. Should do everything like this. Created that. Exactly. People should not forget about it. This is a little bit hard for some. For like when I first started doing things with MongoDB, I felt the sorting part was a little bit hard, but when you get used to it, it's nice. It's like you just pass in another parameter and things will flow. So let's do this one. I think this one will be necessary doing a review later, but yeah, let's see what Fred does, and then we can discuss later. So yeah, if you guys have any questions while we are watching the series, please let me know. We have a lot of things left, and so it's nice to answer questions if you have any. And so let's get started.
So before we move on, I want to create another method because let's go to our list. We have some contacts that I want to remove. So let's create a remove function so we'll be able to create another method and see how that works. Okay, so I want to add a button on this contacts list. So you'll be able to click in a remove button and remove this contact. And to that, I will go again in the Tailwind website. We are using these staked lists. So I will go until the end. Yeah, we are using, no, not this one. We are using, yeah, this component, I think. So I will see the code, and what I want to copy is just this. That is a link actually. So I will copy this. I will go to our contact list and I will add to here. And instead of view, it will be called remove. So let's see how it is in our screen. Yeah, it looks good. So I will create a function, and when I click on this button, I will call it. It will be contact, well, remove contact, I think is better. Remove contact, and I will create it right here. So const remove contact, it will be error function. We need to be able to remove the contact. We need its ID. So I will receive from here, and I will pass it from here. So we need to define an error function, and we need to pass, this is the variable that you created and we are iterating over, if you remember. So I will pass person.id. So when I click on this, I will call this function. And this function, what I want to do is to call a meteor method. So how we do that? Again, meteor.call. And yeah, we haven't defined this function yet, but I will call it contacts.remove. And I will pass object with contact ID. And then this will be the ID that we received. And we also need to do the same here. If you go back to the, let me close this and this. If you go back to the contact form to be sure that everything went right, we have to define a callback and show a error message, a success message. But I won't do this at this time. I will leave it that for you so we can move quicker. But I will just define the method and call it and see if it is working. So, okay, meet your call, contacts remove, contact.
Yeah, the instructor is the best. Yeah, someone in the chat sent it was somewhere here. So yeah, it's here now. Yeah, the instructor is the best. The own Fred congratulating himself. Yeah, nice.
Contact ID. This one looks good. Let's go to the contacts methods now. And I will define a new method here. So how we do that? We can just pass another function. We can just define another function. And its name will be contacts.remove. We need to receive an object with a contact ID this way. And how we remove it? Well, we just use the contacts collection. At this point, this is just MongoDB API. So we call contacts collection dot remove, and we pass the contact ID that we just received. Okay, let's see if it is working. Let's go back to the screen, and I will try to remove this one that is blank. So click remove. Yeah, it is working. There is one thing, because this is a link. If you noticed, it's scrolling up our screen to the top. So I don't want to do that. We can solve in a few ways, but I will just receive the event from here. I will also pass the event to this method, and I will just, okay, and also here, yeah, let's call it event, right? And on here, we have to pass the event and also here to our function. And we will just call a function named prevent default. We will just call this function, and we will not be scrolling up anymore. So let's test it. We will refresh the page just to be sure that the HTML is loaded. And I will remove the thread too. So remove, yep, and it is working fine. So I removed this one as well. And now it looks good. We have the names and emails and the pictures. So it is working fine, but there's still something we have to do to improve our code and to be safer. So I mentioned before that we should not trust the data that we receive from the client side, and we are not validating this data. So the minimum validation that we should do is to check if the types are correct. So Meteor has something to help us doing that. And I will actually import Meteor right here. This is optional, but I like to import it just to be clear from where this is coming. And we have a function that we will use it that is called check. That is from Meteor check. So this is a package that is included in our app by default. And what it does is enable us to check the type of the variables. So we can check that the name is a string. And also I'm pressing here Command D so I can duplicate this line. We will also check the email, the image URL, and also here in the contacts remove, we should check if the contact ID is also a string. So this could work for any JavaScript type. So we could check other types, like if it's a number or if it's a Boolean. So we have those options, but for these ones, string is the correct type. So this way, if the contact ID is not a string, we will receive an error. And how can we test that? We could just force passing something here on the contacts list. So instead of passing this ID, we could force passing a number. And of course, that's not the case, but you cannot trust the client side. So you might receive something wrong. So if we go to the browser and try to remove, I will remove Mary, the last one. And if I click on here, we got an error. So we have a 400 error because we are passing a wrong type of data. So I remove this and leave it this way because it will be a string. And now it should work. Yep, it is working. So don't forget to implement the callback functions here so you can handle the errors like we did in the contacts form.
So yeah, this one is gonna be not completely redone, but I need to do like a review of it. So let me just add here the what the time is. We are removing contact at 74 something. Let's say a second, and yeah, let me open my VS Code again, and I would try to stop screen sharing, do another share screen, the whole window. Oops, this one, the entire screen. It's nicer. So let me go back here. We have our app that where we left the last time, and we have here the contact list, and I think we can just add here, from what I recall, we can add the here, and it will have the remove. Oops, I think I placed it in the wrong place. Just a second, and I will start the class again. Better now? Yeah, that's better. So just let me copy this one, and we will be able to start. So let's just a second. And so Just a second. So, hey guys, hope you're having a good time watching the Fred classes. And this is me, Gabriel, coming from the future, telling you about this new version that we have that's happened on the new change that we had in 2.8. And so I'm reviewing this class so that it can work from 2.8 onwards and 3.0 Meteor version. So if you're there watching me and you're in a 3.0 version or in a 2.9, 2.8 version, this code is actually valid and it's the way to go if you want to make your app compatible with the 3.0 version. So as you might seen Fred doing was adding this remove function that we're going to be creating now. But before we start creating this remove contact function that he created, we will add to our methods the contact.remove that he also created there. So in this session, he also imported a check from meter check, and he started checking those variables like name for string, the same for email, and the same thing for human URL. And now we can do like this so that we can check always using our library. And now we're going to be adding this new async function called contacts.remove that will receive an ID, or yeah, it could be an ID, I guess, and we'll check if it's ID and if it's in a string. Check if exactly this ID is in a string. I will do this thing that Copilot sent to me is really good. It's a valuable solution, but this time I will do like a return. Oops, return await contacts collection dot remove async. Whoops, async passing in the ID as this. So this should work. This should remove a contact. And actually, I remember that Fred also did this thing. Yeah, it's here already. Created that. It's always last. So start created that. And now we need also to update here the created at function so that it has the created at new data. Exactly. So if we reload our page and do it might not, no, it will work. If I create Gabriel tree that uses Gabriel tree at gmail.com and has some.png, it will save and it will be the last. We haven't implemented the remove function yet, so it will do an uncaught error to throw many things because we haven't defined the function, and we will do now. So the function that Fred defined is a remove contact one, and let's do it here. Const remove contact that receives an event and the ID of this user, and what it will do is event dot prevent default, and it will call the async, the contacts remove. Because we defined this function as async, we will need to call meteor dot call async, call async, and contact remove exactly like Copilot suggested to me. We have to import as well meteor here from meteor. So when we do that, we import Meteor from Meteor/Meteor. We do the call async. We are almost certain that things are fine, right? Because we're calling it asynchronously to remove this contact, but we are not handling errors. How could we handle those errors? As you might see in the previous lesson, we do async here, and then we do like try, and then, oops, catch here, the error, and then here. So we'll do await. We gotta remember to await for those functions. Oops, for some reason. We gotta remember awaiting for those functions in order to throw it if it's something goes wrong. If something goes wrong, I will do an alert and tell the user that he did something wrong. So if we try now refreshing the page and try removing the Gabriel 2, it should work. Wait, it shouldn't. It didn't work. Why it didn't work? Yeah, contact is not defined. Why contact is not defined? Oh, because it's person, right? So it's person.ad. And if we rerun it and try to remove, oops, if we try to remove, it should work. It worked fine. But if the user, the client, throws me a number here, it shouldn't. It throws me a number here. Whoops, number. It will throw an error and we will alert the user. So let's try it again. Waiting a little bit. My machine is getting a little bit heated. Let's wait while it's refreshing. Yeah, it's refreshed. I think it did. Let's try it again. So if I try to remove Gabriel, the Gabriel at Meteor, it should do an error. Yeah, so yeah, now it's yeah, it should throw an error. It did throw an error, and it says match failed because in the server he tried to run the code and it got a number rather than a string, and it went wrong. So if I just remove here and try to just pass in the ID and refresh the page, things should work fine. So let's wait a bit until it refreshes and then we run it again. Ta-da, voila. We have implemented the remove function in our server. So that's most of the revision that we have regarding this section is that you should use the async API now, especially for those that are using, especially in the server. That's the only thing that's accepted. So what happened is in Meteor 3, there only be the async counterpart, meaning that if you are using remove here, it won't work. In 2.0, it will work, but in 3.0, it only will work the async counterpart ones. The remove async, the insert async, the update async. So watch out for this. Be aware of when you're using a function that's doing something with MongoDB, it should use the async-fied version of it. So hope you all like the session. Hope to see you soon. Bye bye. Let's go back to the classes. So yeah, that's mostly I would say bye bye to the future person that's watching maybe in the university so that he can watch the next session, and we'll be back with Fred. So yeah, exactly. Let me just add here the removing contacts revision, and I'm not sure anymore how to count time. So I would say it's 1 hour, 1:23:07. I'm not sure how to count time anymore. So let's go. So I will bring back again the university, and we'll continue watching our classes. Let me find the tab here. I think it's this one. So let's see. We have an activity here. Yeah, it's the one that we've done. It's adding new elements to our list and removing ones. Or trying to add a new element to the contact with a remove. uh, Add a new element to the contact list with a link to remove a contact. Create a method called remove so that we can remove by ID. We can check the final code, and we should commit to trigger a new push to deploy. So that's another thing we should do. Well, let's continue our class. We're going to be seeing now Meteor methods and optimistic UI. This one sounds really interesting. And we'll see what our good instructor Fred has to say about it. And actually, I just realized that it was in the wrong shape, and now I think it's better. So yeah, if you guys have anything to say, you can always comment. You can always ping me here, and I try answer to you. And so let's get back to it. If the sound is too loud or too low, please let me know, and let's go.
All right, so our app is working fine, but users of modern web apps expect the UI to respond instantly. And our app should be able to respond to the user inputs faster than it takes to make a whole round trip to the server. We call this optimistic UI updating. So if you see, for example, the contacts list, and if you take a look at the method that remove a contact, when we click on that button, when you click here on the remove link, we are calling this Meteor call. And to support optimistic UI, we should import our Meteor methods not only on the server side, because we are importing already the contacts methods on the server side, but we should also import these methods on the client side right here. We're going to see other ways of importing methods, but let's keep that way for the moment. So just doing that, Meteor will support optimistic UI. And what I mean by that, if you look at this illustration, we can see a few important components in our Meteor application. So we have the client-side JavaScript, we have Minimongo, that is our client data cache. We have DDP, a protocol created by Meteor using WebSockets. We have Node.js on the server side, and we have MongoDB also on the server side. So when we call a Meteor method from the client side, we are doing like this, and we are sending the data from the client to the server side. So this data is processed and validated on the server side. We insert it or remove it from MongoDB, depending on which action we're taking. And then this data will go back to the client side. It will go first to the mini Mongo, and then we will show this change in our HTML, in our React UI in our case. So this is the regular flow, but there's an issue on this that is the network latency. And what I mean by that is when we send this data over the network, we have some time, we have some delay to get the answer from the server side and then to present to the client side. And actually, using optimistic UI on Meteor, when you call a Meteor method on the client side using Meteor call, two things happen at the same time. We send this to Minimongo, and we also send to the server to run in a secure environment. And then a simulation of this method runs directly on the client, trying to predict the outcome of the call. So we insert the data in Minimongo and represent this data on the screen immediately. So we call this latency compensation. And then at the same time, this data is sent to the server, and then it will be processed there. It will be inserted in MongoDB, and then this data will come back and we will calculate and check what is the real result. So if the data was inserted correctly, it will keep the state of the screen. But if something went wrong, that data will be removed. So if we're talking about inserting a contact in our Meteor wallet, we can actually use that Meteor DevTools evolved extension so we can see what is going on. So remember, we can see here the mini Mongo, and we can see that we have a few contacts here. Right now, we have 5. So if I add a new one like this, and I image URL, we are going to see that this contact will be inserted to mini Mongo. So we can actually see here on this tab on DDP that this contact was inserted. So this call was sent to Minimongo. And then we can see this one, this message means that this contact was actually inserted in MongoDB. But first, it was inserted on Minimongo, then sent to the backend, and we got this answer from the server. We can even check in the code if the code that we just run was a simulation or if it was a real call. So if you go to contacts methods and we can check this on the remove method, we could check right here if this is a simulation. So I'm going to do this. If it's a simulation, I will remove the contact. We could even do like this just to check on the console log that this contact was not removed. So we will print this on the console on the server side. So now if you try to remove some contact like this one, and we can check the console log right here. Let me clean it. I will try to remove this one. And well, yeah, nothing happens. But if we slow down our CPU a little bit from here, we'll be able to see this element blinking. So Meteor tries to remove this, but what is happening here is that the client side is removing from Minimongo, and it is trying to show that result on the screen. But at the same time, a Meteor call was sent to the server, and this call is the one that always wins. So it is really quick, but we can see this data blinking. And we can also check that we have this in our server side. And Meteor does that for us automatically. It would be very hard to build an app and correctly implement this client-side simulation. And
Yeah, this explanation is like the best. And I whenever I try to explain Meteor to someone, and I would like love to have this like it's as a YouTube link or something like this, because this is the explanation on how Meteor handles optimistic UI. And for some it's like it looks like magic, and actually it feels like magic, because you are doing a thing that was supposed to be run on a server on the client, but you have some control of it. And it's so simple, right? You just import it. And yeah, I've seen a lot of explanations in forums, in Stack Overflow answers, and still this one is the best. And it should be like on YouTube or something like this, and a quick, like easy to way to show to people, because sometimes they go like, yeah, I need the Mystic UI, I need to do a whole lot of things. And with Meteor, you just run the code and it will run within a simulation. And that's so nice. That's so nice, because yeah, it tries to replicate what happens on the server, on the client. And yeah, sometimes the server can be slow. And so what we do, we run on the client, and if things uh, run fine, it will update the UI at the end. So this is a thing that Meteor Tree will remain with it. So for those that are watching in the future, this still has on Meteor Tree. You have only to use async methods to work in both places. But at the same time, if you're writing with async in the server, it will you can import it in the client and it will work. This is so nice. So yeah, let's continue with our class.
it would take a lot of work to make the UI consistent and keep the data in sync with the client-side data cache and the MongoDB on the server side. So Meteor does all of that for us. And the only thing we need to do is to have the methods imported on the server side and also on the client side. But now let's remove this simulation from here and this as well. Let's check if our app is working fine. So I will remove this. Yep, it worked. And then I will stop the server and we are going to send this code to Galaxy. So this is a good time to commit our code. And I can say that we just implemented Meteor methods with optimistic UI. And when we push this to GitHub, Meteor will trigger a new deploy and will update our Galaxy server.
Yeah, guys. So like I was thinking about this. It's like I've added optimistic UI in other apps that aren't Meteor apps, and yeah, it's you should try it. You should see it how like it handles complex cases sometimes. And if you don't want it to run it, you don't import it. Or if you want it to decide how it will run, it's more declarative than other ways. You just say like, if this is a simulation, the same way Fred did somewhere here. Let's see if I can find it. Yeah, if this is a simulation, return or do something with the code. And I know for some it may feel like you're doing too many things. Like, yeah, the same code it will run in two environments, yes, but it's nice so that you not you can lie to your client, but you can, like, if there's a simulation, you do the context.remove, or you do something and then return a result, for example, and the user will have this result ready to be used. So yeah, really nice thing from Meteor. And so let's continue for classes. We have an activity here, probably doing the adding the contact methods to our client, to our client side, check their start with the final code, and trigger a new deploy on Galaxy. Yeah, you should always be committing your code so that you don't have an like it's auto sync inside of your computer and the remote. So yeah, keep committing, guys. Never forget to commit your code. So we're gonna be doing one of the lessons that I like the most, and Fred is there with another background. It's nice. This one is one of my favorite lessons. It's about publications, and you see why. I don't think. I'm almost sure that we haven't changed enough, like anything on this side, but we gotta see it. So let me just type it in here. The minutes. Meteor publications. It happened at 1 hour 36 minutes and 37 actually, and it will run through. I don't know when, but we'll see it. So let's get started, guys.
Hey, I am back here. So I mentioned before that we had two packages that are mainly for prototyping. So we removed one of them, that it was the insecure package, and there is another one that is the auto publish that we need to remove. So what this package does is basically, if we check the mini-mongo on the Meteor Dev tools, we can see that all the contacts, they are published to the client side, and we didn't instruct Meteor to do that. So this package does this automatically. And this is good for prototyping, but for real apps, we have to think about which data do we need at which moment. And then we need to create a publication that it will publish a set of data, and on the screen, or when we need this kind of data, we have to subscribe to this set of data, and then they will be published to Minimongo. So let's start removing the auto-publish package, and we could edit this file, or we can just run this command meteor remove auto-publish. This will remove the package from here, and Meteor will detect that we removed this package. It will reload our app. And if you check now, the contact list is empty. And you can see that in Minimongo, contacts is also empty. So now we need to create this publication, and then we will subscribe to it. And how we do that? Well, let's go to the API folder inside imports, and let's create a new file called contacts publications.js. And inside here, we are going to create our publications related to the contacts. Let's create the publication. For this, we just have to call meteor.publish. We give it a name that it will be all contacts, and we pass a function that I will call it publish all contacts. And then inside this function, I need to return the data that I want to make it available. So I will return contacts collection dot find. So this will return all the contacts that we have in the database. I will just import Meteor from here as well. And that's it. This is our publication. Now we need to import this file in our main.js server. Notice that this is just a simple example, but when you are creating publications, we should fetch as little data as possible. And we are going to create other publication very soon, and I think it will be more clear. It's also important to understand that we are not returning the data directly from here. We are returning something called a cursor, and I will show you what a cursor is. And when you create a publication and return a cursor, we are creating something called a live query. And when you create a live query, internally, Meteor will create an observer that will watch the data in MongoDB. So depending on which collection we are using and which parameters, which filters we are using, this observer will notify if the data changes, and then this query will be invalidated if the data changes, and it will rerun. So Meteor will make sure that the data will be always up to date on Minimongo. So let's go there to import this publication, this file that we just created. So it is imports API contacts publications. Now we need to change the client side. Before these changes, we were expecting that the data was available in Minimongo. All the data was available in Minimongo, and that's not the case anymore. We need to subscribe to the publication that we just created. And for this, we are going to import a new hook that we have that is called use subscribe, and we're going to use it like this. So we call it, and we have to pass the name of the publication, that is all contacts. And what this hook will do is to send a message to the server side. So the client side will send a message to the server side saying that we want to watch, we want to subscribe to this publication. And then the client side has to wait for an answer. So we need to receive this is loading, that it is a function that it will tell me that the subscription is okay or not. And then later we will be able to use this is loading like this. So we can check if it is loading, then we can show a loading message or a spinner, something like that. If not, it's because it is finished, and then we can just present the data. So I'm just showing how we could use that, but it will not be exactly like this. So, okay, we are subscribed to the all contacts, and then now we are going to use another hook that is the use find. So we could still use use tracker, but use find, it is a new hook that has a better way to handle our publications. So we are going to use this one. And basically, it will work in almost the same way as the use tracker. So I will declare a variable called contacts, and we'll call use find. Right here, we pass a function, and it will be very similar to this one. So I'll just copy from here and return this. When you're using the use find, we don't need to fetch in the end of the function. So I will remove this, because remember that this find function will return a cursor, and the cursor is what the use find hook needs. So I will just comment this code for the moment. And now we have the subscription. We are using the use find. WebStorm is complaining here because it could pass another parameter, but it is an optional parameter, and I won't pass it for the moment. Let's remove the use tracker import because we are not using anymore. And so I will remove the commented code. And now we can use this is loading to check if the subscription is ready or not. So just for the moment, and I will improve this later, but I will check if is loading. We can return just something like this, loading. And if not, this will return false, and then it will present the data. So let's test this. Let's see how it is working. So our application is running, I think. Yeah, it is running. So let's see on the browser how it is behaving. We have this. I will just refresh. Oh, can you see it? You can see that loading that I'm talking about. And we can also check on Minimongo, on the Meteor Dev Tools, in the Minimongo tab. We can see that all the data is here. And if we change just to something wrong, just a wrong name of this publication, we will see that we have no data anymore. And the loading keeps there. So let's fix this and put the right name. And it is working. There's just one more thing that we should do to improve our code and to improve performance. So this contacts, we are mapping it here to element of the list. So what I am going to do now, I will refactor this a little bit. So I will extract this code from here, and I will create another small component called contact item, and this will return, oops, this will return that code that we just extracted. So like this, okay. And then we don't need this anymore. Let me remove it. And we were expecting a person, but it would be better to call this a contact, right? So I will just refactor this and rename to contact. All right. And then going back to here to the mapping, I will just render that component contact item, and then I have to pass a contact parameter. And I will also rename this. I will remove this as we're not using it anymore. And we also need to provide a key to React. I will use the contact.id. So this is just the first part. Let's see if it is still working. There's something wrong. Let's check what is wrong. We are passing the contact. Oh, I think I know it. We have to receive an object. So let me fix this. And yeah, it's okay now. And then the optimization that I was talking about is to use React Mimo. So let's import from React the Mimo function right here. And then on the contact item, we're going to call this function right here, and we will encapsulate everything inside React Mimo. And Mimo is built to optimize and reduce the number of times that a component renders. And the useFind hook, it's created to work really well with Mimo. So this is the recommended way of using useFind. So let's save this and check. And everything looks good. Let me just do a refresh, and it looks okay. And now I just want to show you the cursor. So let me change this. I will create a variable called result right here, and I will return it. But before that, I want to print this result on the console so we can see the cursor from MongoDB. So let's have a look on the console on Chrome. And this is what a cursor is. So it is an object that it will be used by the live queries. And you can see that we have the name of the collection. We have the sorting that we are using. It is here. If you are using other parameters like fields or limit, all of them would be here. So a cursor will have everything we need to fetch the data. And if we do something like this, if we fetch, if we call the fetch function on the cursor, then let's see right here. So now we have the array of contacts. So that's the difference between the cursor and when we call
Sorry,
a
guys.
fetch method. let's revert this back. Let's remove this and return the cursor again. And it is the same on the publication, right? So this find is also returning a cursor. And we can even simplify this function. We can just return it directly like this, just to reduce one line. And let's test it again. I always like to do this refresh. It's not needed. But yeah, we could see the loading and the data is here. Now what we could do is just to improve the UI a little bit. So when we see the loading, there's no style, right? So I will just do something very simple. I will take the same components, the same visual components from Tailwind that we're using on the contact list, like this. And I think it is better to do this way using the parentheses. Yeah. And then instead of contact list, I will show you loading. And also the indentation, it's not right. We need one more div. Okay, now it looks good. So I'm just returning the loading in the same way, but then I'm using some styling from Tailwind. As everything is working fine, and actually, let's test it. Let me just add this something here, just really quick, and save it. Yeah, still working. And now let's remove. Okay, it's still working. So it is a good time to push our code that will trigger a deploy on Galaxy, and then we can see the project live. Let's go to the terminal right here, and I will do a git add, git commit, and I will say that we are using publications and use find. Let's just fix this. Publications, use find, and use subscribe. Okay, so it is committed, and let's push. Great. This will trigger a deploy on Galaxy, and let's see if you can see that from here. I am on Meteor Cloud, and I want to access Galaxy. So let's go here, applications, and that's my application, and then Galaxy. Yep, we can see that a build was started a few seconds ago. Remember that this is a free account, so Galaxy will stop our containers if no one is using. So I will just access from here, so then the container can start, but the deploy is in progress.
Yeah, that's nice. That's like this React library that we use for Meteor is nice. It works, and working with like this is another thing that we might or should have in our docs for like when we are like in the, let me just add the second here is 1 hour and 52:00. Yeah, that's the thing that we should have like in our docs somewhere, like that use find is especially thought so that you can use with memo. And when you use memo and use find, your application can be a lot more performant. And I know that for the most cases you don't need it, but it's really nice when you have something like almost thought of the box with, like you can, as you've seen it, like Fred did this, and you could do this in almost every component that uses use find. So yeah, it looks good. For me, this is a really good section because it shows like in 16 minutes, it shows you less than 60 minutes, shows you how to uh, shows how to shows how you can use the real time thing for Meteor. So that's insane. That's like really insane because yes, in other than 15 minutes, you can have a real time application that's not only real time but also performant, and it's really automatic in my opinion. Because as you guys could see it here, it's like it's just like you just got the cursor, and if you're like really into reusing code, you can have like you can make a function for the publication and pass it and import here and use it here, because as you saw it, the the use find function is exactly the same as the function that we use, the cursor, the cursor that you're returning to use find is exactly the same as the function that we are using in the publication. So you could like import the code in both places and just use it and just start using it, and it will be a really performant, it be real time, and yeah, that's for me that's the mind blowing part of Meteor. You just like just import the collection and find it, and things will work. So yeah, really nice. Let's see the complementary content, and yeah, this about publications. That how we do data loading, and yeah, you should read it, guys. This is like really interesting. To there is a reference is in the guide data loading, because yeah, if you want to understand Meteor, like when to use publications, when not, this is like more of like a go-to guide to see. And let's see our activity here. I guess it's mostly remove the auto publish, create a new file called with context publications, use the hooks that we have from React, and try to use React memo to render our contacts. So that's really nice to have. Well, what I'm going to do now is do a review from what we had like what we have done in the in this session, um, and I will create like a PR, I think, for this uh, for the how can I say it, I'll create a PR with the code that I've done in the session today and with like every lesson, so that people can go there and see what have changed from 2.5 to 2.14, 10 versions later, and now into 3.0 that it's like almost coming. So that was what we developed today, and I hopefully I made sure that this live today had like key points. So I have like every session, every lesson, it's like actually a point in our like there will be like it will be indexed in the way that whenever you're like I want to know about this section, I have like a really nice section. I think in YouTube you'll understand when you see it in YouTube. So yeah, it's gonna be really nice. So what I will do is do the pull request here for our lesson two, and the changes that we've added for like removing contacts and using the async API. And I think that was mostly the changes that we had, and especially regarding these newer versions. And yeah, let me see if I have anything else to share with you guys. I guess I can share the new docs, so that if anyone wants to see how the new docs are going, the link is here. I will send it here, I think. I'm not sure if I can send links in chat. Yeah, I cannot change links in chat, so I'll send it here. And hopefully Ahmad can get it and share there. And so, well, that's mostly where you can get your information about Meteor 3. That's the new docs. You can use it. So I'm going to be taking you all for participation for those that were there, especially Fred, that was our instructor here on our session on the university. So yeah, Fred was in the chat helping us out. And so really nice having you, Fred, having everyone that was on board today watching, and everyone that watched and have their doubts that sent us. Everyone is welcome to send your questions in the uh, to send your questions in our DMs. You can do like this. Uh, Please remember to follow us in Twitter. I think there's the iSocial command. I think it can work. Now let's see if it works. And please follow us there on our social medias, on X, formerly Twitter, on Instagram, on GitHub, and LinkedIn, please. So that you can be always up to date with the latest changes that happen on Meteor. And so that's pretty much about today. Um, let me see if we have anything else. Oh yes, and well, we will probably next week we'll continue with our studies here on the university. And yeah, keep an eye out. Probably on next Friday we'll be here again doing this. So again, was really nice having you all here today, and hope to see you all soon. Bye bye.